Good to see you guys again. I'm so happy to be here. I love Emerge so much. Year 8, thriving. This is kind of the first place I found people in technology in Miami, and it's been a good run for the past 10 years. I know Austin was here 10 years ago. I think you three are newish people to Miami. We're happy you're here. You found us. It's a good place to be. So yeah, the topic is, there's doom and gloom happening, but that's okay. This is always going to happen in the world. There's ups and there's downs. But there's always really bright notes to be had. So I want everyone here first to kind of give an intro of themselves, like their 1-minute elevator pitch, and then we'll get into some questions. Marell.
Awesome. I'll go first. Marell Evans. I'm the founder of Exceptional Capital. We are a pre-CC stage $50 million fund. Newer right now in Miami, but loving it here.
All right. Howard Lerman, founder and former CEO of Yext. I founded in 2006, took it public in 2017, ran a public company for 5.5 years. After 22 earnings calls, I got sick of explaining to hedge fund investors why EPS was off 1/10 of a point quarter over quarter. So a year ago, I founded a cloud HQ called Rome.
Auston Bunsen, co-founder of QuickNode. We do blockchain infrastructure, longtime Miamian, huge fan of the Miami tech ecosystem.
Hi guys, I'm Polina Pompliano. I spent 5 years at Fortune magazine covering tech and venture capital. And in 2020, right in time for everything, I left and started my own media company called The Profile. It has a newsletter, and we studied the world's most interesting and successful people.
Amazing, and she writes amazing work. Follow her on Twitter, it's great. All right, so one question for all of you. You guys can pop in as you want. With the current state of the market, financial world's a bit of a mess. Banks are going under here and there. Political climate's a mess, some say. Where are we right now, and where should we be going? Austin, you start.
Me?
Yeah.
All right. Where are we now? I don't even know. I don't know which way is up. The only thing that makes sense to me is buying Bitcoin.
Respect. Okay. Anyone else? No? All right, next question.
Hey, you should go.
Yeah, I think...
People want to hear from you because you're giving out money.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? I think founders and investors need to kind of right now lead with core principles, right? Unit economics will be evaluated much earlier now from a pre-seed to a seed stage business, not just so much growth stage. So I think for us, with Exceptional Capital, we're looking at a lot of qualitative and quantitative balance with our founders, and we're excited.
And I'll add something. When I was writing Term Sheet, which is Fortune's deal-making newsletter, in 2019, somebody wrote in and said, I continue to be amazed at how damn easy it is to make money. And it was just that was kind of a sign of the times, right? In 2019, there were these mega deals over $100 million. There were these decacorns, which is companies valued at over 10 billion. Blitz scaling was all the rage. And I think now the pendulum is kind of swinging back towards profitability, capital efficiency, and all the stuff that makes a business a business. And I think investors should care about unit economics, and they should care about profitability.
Totally agree. Howard, let me start with you. A question. You started Yext many years ago during a very turbulent time in 2008. What did you learn during that time, and how did you get through it, and how can those be applied now for all of us in the audience?
I'll never forget the day when I got a call from my banker at Citibank who told me the auction rate securities in 2008 that I had purchased were illiquid. And so that really it changes you. And it's funny, this very panel was originally sponsored by, can I say it? Silicon Valley Bank. Anybody ever heard of Silicon Valley Bank?
Dare I say it?
Still is. Okay, sorry. I'm not really sure anyway, I never pay attention to what I'm allowed to say or not. The point is that you learn to hedge risk. It's funny, entrepreneurship sits at the intersection of extraordinary risk-taking and extraordinary conservatism. And when it comes to something like cash management, there's never any reason to take a risk, especially when you can earn 4 or 5% on something like bills. You definitely get hardened when you go through a crisis, and you have the pattern recognition to do it again. Right now, today, investors I have seen are not rewarding growth at all costs. It used to be back 5 years ago, 4 years ago, even 2 years ago, the only thing that mattered was the percentage of top line growth. Now, you mentioned unit economics. Everything that, if you have product market fit, you got to just think about what your acquisition cost is to acquire a new customer. And if that is really in excess of a year, you might want to just kind of either optimize for that or optimize to basically run your business at break even to be able to grow as fast as you can without losing any money.
Wait, are you saying I got to care about gross profit and operating profit?
Wait a minute.
What is that?
So how can we do that better? Because really, like making a lot of money and growing really fast. Now everyone wants both of those things. And that seems to not really make sense in my brain as like how fast can I go each of those things? So what's first?
We had these extraordinary valuations. Look, if you're a founder of a $6 million ARR company and Co2 sends you a term sheet for an $100 million investment at a $1 billion valuation and says you can take 20 million of secondary and we're not going to take a board seat and we're not going to do any diligence, you are insane if you don't accept that deal. So I don't really look at it as the founder's fault. I look at it like the entire ecosystem to say, who in their right mind would make an irrational decision and say no to that kind of thing?
Yeah. And Polina, you've interviewed hundreds of people, very successful CEOs, founders. What's like the one common theme of how they made successful companies through all this, the ups and downs of decades of their lives?
I think it's two things. Like the one thing that I've noticed is when times are uncertain, most people tend to freeze. And they tend to go to constraint and kind of like give way to growth. So still taking smart risks, like a lot of the people here, even in times of uncertainty, is very important. But the second thing is like they understand the power of consistency and maintaining an emotional sobriety through everything. I think the last 10 years, if you start a company in the last 10 years, you've enjoyed the benefit of the bull market. But now the companies that are started today, they're going to have to be more efficient with their capital. They're going to have to stretch the dollar more. So I think like the generation defining companies are going to be started today because these founders aren't, kind of spoiled by $100 million check from one VC. And for me personally, I don't have any outside capital. I haven't raised any outside capital. I don't have investors, but I have learned the power of consistency or plus time equals trust. Because when I started the profile, I was just doing it as like a side thing that I did on weekends while working at Fortune. That was like the good times. It was great times. When I left in 2020 to work on it full time, I didn't foresee that there would be a global pandemic. Then I didn't realize there would be a market crash. So now that I've been doing it for 6 years, I've been able to like consistently just do the work week after week. And because of that, the readers trust me and they're willing to back me financially. So I think that's the key.
Consistency.
Yeah.
That's kind of a theme. Auston, consistency. You've been here for a lot of your life. If you're one of the OGs of the Miami tech movement, what got us to this point in 2023 and what's different from 2012?
So I think one of the main things that a lot of people like to say is consistency, right? But I think
Auston.
But I think a lot of the work that we did was not enough, right? Because if it was, all these people would have been here already.
Right.
But we did create a good foundation so that when the black swan event, that is COVID, and blue states doing their thing, happened, we were able to absorb people and bring them into the fold of our community and grow into what we have today.
Right. And then Marell, you've had an awesome career. SoftBank, Okta, a big fund, a big startup that became a public company, and now you're an emerging manager. What across all three of those experiences have you seen has been like, you plucked from like, oh, this is great, this is not great, I can use this forever?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I always start off with, I never let my humility compromise my competency. And I try to have a balance of both. like a guy who spoke a few minutes ago, Tom Brady, I played at University of Michigan too, but we had different careers. Right? But that being said, I use my attributes and characteristics of being an athlete to business, and I was very fortunate and very lucky working at Okta pre-IPO, and then being able to work at SoftBank gave me a great balance of understanding how to, have that analytical rigor, but also be able to commercialize different products. And I think, for me, as I kind of set out to build a generational firm, we want to be founder first, right? And we want to be very methodical and thematic, right? And as this technology tectonic shift happens across generative AI and all these other things, I think what I want to be known for is doing my own homework and not fast following.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are you seeing right now? You're investing locally, I hear. You want to do more of it. So what should we be pitching you on?
Yeah, so I was very lucky enough to invest in Auston and blockchain infrastructure. But I think, again, the technology tectonic shift of like generative AI, right? We want to be more precise and thematic, right? So looking at the picks and shovels of that. So, trust and safety of generative AI and, governance of generative AI, not just, the bells and whistles. So I'm seeing that. And I think for us, we want to increase the probability of being right by surrounding ourselves around smart people, right? So I'm just seeing a bunch of people build in spaces like the generative AI, cybersecurity, cloud security, and a lot of DevOps tools.
Okay. And Howard, I just did a demo of Rome the other day, and wow, it's really, really cool. Like, we're all virtual workers now. I mean, I am at least. I'm not sure all my friends and people at work are every day, and this kind of shows you what's happening. So I heard that the X, you had a great in-person experience, and you're trying to mirror that now on a virtual side. What are the one thing young founders should know in building their companies? How to structure it, how to build this great culture with this 50-50 in the office, not in office type of situation?
Yeah. Right now there's all this debate about whether the future of work is going to be hybrid, in person. HR departments are sitting around debating their policies. Should people be allowed to work from home on Fridays? We sort of think that's entirely the wrong question, because the fact is 100% of scaled companies become distributed and have people everywhere. Yext had people from Berlin to Tokyo, where we actually first met 5 years ago. And so the challenge companies need to solve is not whether or not people should be allowed to work from home on Thursdays or not, but instead, how do you get everyone working together in one place as if you were all in one HQ, regardless of where you are. And at Yext, if you go to New York, you'll see a big building in the meatpacking district. We invested in that. We have an incredible HQ. We had over 1,000 people there. It's 150,000 square feet. A brand new building. We signed the lease right before COVID. I'm not sure I would have signed that lease again. Not sure I would do that, because the future of work is distributed, and so what companies need to be able to do is get everyone working out of the cloud. You still meet in person, but also go to where the talent is, because your AI engineer that's a generative expert in trust and safety may be in Saskatchewan, and you may want to have a call center down somewhere in South America and have a support center in the Philippines, and you just got to bring all those people together. So culture is a really hard thing, and I will say there is no better way to build a great culture than to win together. When you win a war, when you win something, that's what brings everyone together. Whether it's a little deal, a little project, some launch, get some wins.
And they feel like they're part of the whole situation. They can see what's happening, they can hop into a meeting. It's pretty cool stuff you have.
Thank you.
Auston, your company is growing fast. You're almost a unicorn. Awesome, I know, crazy. Don't want to curse you with that, but
Wait, I thought it was a unicorn. Oh, you told me something different. No.
We're close.
It only takes one person to decide your company is a unicorn.
Only one.
Only one. Well, I think you are. So what is some advice for folks who are building companies that want to become this, that you've seen go great or not so great at your company?
Well, so I think first off, I'm slightly less qualified than Howard to answer this question.
Well, he can answer it too then.
So I definitely want to hear from him. But from my perspective, I think the things that matter are listening to your customers, talking to them, and figuring out what their problems are, solving those problems for your customers, and charging money for it. All three are pretty crucial at a high level. And if you can find a problem that you can solve better than anyone else, you can charge a lot more money for it and have higher gross margins, which makes people like Marell super interested in your company. So yeah, talk to customers, figure out their problems, solve them, and charge money.
Can I add something to that?
Talent?
You have to have talent. I want to tweak one thing. My whole life I've tried to innovate things, and I've tried to skate to where I saw the puck going as opposed to just copying stuff that already existed. And you mentioned original thinking, and that's what you're doing at your new firm. Original thinking is what sets apart and advances the world. And I think it's really important to listen to customers. I listen to customers all day long, and you listen very importantly to their problems, but that's where it stops. I don't really listen, this is a secret, to customers' solutions. I listen to their problems, and then I design the solution.
Yeah.
Because it's the old Henry Ford quote, they're gonna ask you for a faster horse. So you want them to tell you what their troubles are, but then you've got to come up with something so much better than they can anticipate and see. And you build that, and that's where you're going to get the high margins and the differentiated products that move the world forward.
So what are some of the things we're excited about right now? What are you seeing? What's super innovative that you want to harp onto and kind of make grow? All of you, yeah.
Oh, me?
Anyone, yeah, whoever's got something great.
So I think the whole like AI thing and how it applies to in my industry, which is writing and media, I think that's really interesting. I do think that creativity and human created things are going to become much more like in demand or like wanted at a higher price point than something you could get that ChatGPT could create. But I'm very, very interested in that trend, and I'm curious to see, like, for example, sports reporting, there's articles that could be written just with ChatGPT. So very interested in
AI.
AI.
I think I'm going to rattle off a couple of ideas that are concepts that I think are really interesting. So I'll start with stuff that I know a lot about, blockchain stuff. So account abstraction is something that is coming to Ethereum and Ethereum-like blockchains. And it's going to make crypto, Web3, a lot more accessible. So you're going to be able to do things like social recovery. You won't need to store your private key anywhere. That's pretty useful. And then zero-knowledge proofs, particularly the ZK EVM, is going to allow us, it's a new kind of processing engine for Ethereum that allows us to pack more data into blocks, which means we'll be able to do more transactions per second.
So bigger houses that are easy to get around.
Yeah, and actually sort of underlying zero-knowledge proofs in general are really interesting. Like, I should be able to go to a nightclub and prove that I am over 21 without revealing my name, my address, my gender, whatever it is. So zero-knowledge proofs, also really interesting. I also am a really big fan of NFC, near-field communications. I actually think that the world kind of sucks in physical, and it could get a lot better. And near-field communication is actually in everyone's pocket already. So there needs to be some sort of technology to catalyze that and make it better. Like, I shouldn't have to, go check in at the front desk at a condo visiting my friend. I should just get a little, wallet card I can tap into the elevator and go up.
Right.
And I think naturally the most popular one that everyone's going to say is, LLMs, large language models, which is also known as ChatGPT. And I'll stop there.
Okay. Howard?
Oh, I'm scared shitless of ChatGPT. Let me be clear. I think it is totally naive when you hear people saying that that there are no risks here at all. I think if you understand a little bit about this, everyone, they might say things like, well, it's just predicting the next most statistically likely word. the false assumption is that 100% of people that are inside OpenAI and also people that are using ChatGPT and the various technologies around it are going to act with pure intent. All it takes is one malevolent actor to easily create the worst virus that the world has ever seen, multiplied by a factor of 100. I mean, this, and by the way, I didn't sign the letter, the 6-month thing, just because I think, what's the point of that? What are we going to, in 6 months, say, well, let's start up again? Well, it's been 6 months. That just literally is giving Elon time to purchase enough GPUs to catch up. That's all the point of that letter was. So I don't know what the solution is, but I will mainly just say that I am terrified. And the deeper you get and the more powerful this gets with more tokens, you cannot assume that everyone that's using this is going to be using it in a good way.
I agree, right? I think that's an opportunity because as technology shifts and progresses, criminals get malicious and also sophisticated. And that's when I said, like, precisely we want to be able to invest in businesses who are focusing on trust and safety and also governance around large language models. And I think the tactical way of doing that is being able to talk to a lot of CTOs and CIOs at enterprises and to be able to understand what kind of entrepreneurship they're doing and how are they thinking about this innovation, right? And that's what we've been doing, right? And that's how we want to invest precisely. Because we don't know the space better than a lot of engineers and people working on this stuff, but we do understand the risk. And if we can actually precisely find businesses who want to amplify this tectonic shift, it gives us a reason to be able to invest with conviction and also have an opportunity to commercialize this.
So AI is probably going to be the topic of this whole conference, probably. Every person's talking about it. All right, last question. I think we have one more for all of us. What's the most recent lesson you guys learned?
Most recent what?
Lesson.
Recent lesson.
Well, I will start, and in closing, basically just say, this may not be a lesson, but Miami is fucking killing it right now, and this is the place to be.
Yeah, give it up for Miami. I love it. Love it.
I'll start since we're on the left. I mentioned the quote, humility and compromising your competency. I think I think a lesson I learned is I was competing with a big firm. Obviously, I'm not at SoftBank anymore. I'm trying to build credibility and confidence. And I was a bit too humble, and I was also not very confident in delivering a term sheet, and we lost it. And the lesson I learned is, I have to remind myself I am on this earth, and I have this opportunity for a reason, and I need to be ultra confident. So it's like every time you wake up, looking at the mirror, saying I'm here for a reason. Yeah. And now moving forward, I hope to start to display that as we kind of get into our next investments.
Yeah, don't stop buying Bitcoin, I guess is the lesson for me. So I actually recently opened a bank account at a bank. I'm not going to name them because I don't want them to close my account again. But it was just for like renting my spare parking spot. I opened a bank account. They closed it. They didn't tell me. They took the money I deposited to that account and they have mailed it. And I haven't gotten it for 3 weeks. So my lesson is, of course, Bitcoin is instant, uncensorable money. So
facts.
I should keep buying it.
All right.
Okay, I'll close it off with, I think like if you're an entrepreneur or thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, know that there's like no bad time to bet on yourself. And I met Howard in 2018 when I was a reporter. I never in my life thought that I could ever be an entrepreneur, own anything or anything like that. And I think that basically there comes a point, and from all these successful people that I've studied, is that there comes a point in your life where you actually have to jump and you actually have to bet on yourself. And I've seen it time and time again. And I think like when I was leaving my job to start the profile in, I told them that I was leaving at the beginning of March in 2020. I still didn't realize like how that it would be a global pandemic. But then that event was one thing that was not on my pro or con list. I was like, maybe there will be a recession. It's a 10-year cycle, whatever. I never saw a global pandemic. But the beauty of that is that like you can plan all you want, and then it's not going to turn out the way you want it. But at some point, like all these entrepreneurs and investors here, there was a moment where they were like, I'm going to do this today, and I'm just going to jump, and then you figure it out.
Hold on, before we close out, I just want to say everyone should definitely check out Paulina's company. It's called The Profile. I'm a subscriber.
Thank you.
And a new book comes
And
out.
a book, yeah.
Buy the book.
Thank you guys. Wow, this really turned
Your promo.
And that is a good lesson right there, and just start. That's all it takes. Day one is the best day. Just start a thing. Start many things. They're probably all going to fail, but the one thing's going to do really good. So do that. And thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you guys.